exiting home, please keep the space clear.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about the Narwal T10. This is the first robot from Narwal, the Chinese company, and it is quite an innovative robot vacuum. I was very excited to get my hands on this, and this is the unit right here. As you see, it is a LiDAR-based navigation system. It has the ability to both sweep your floors and mop your floors, with the big news being the mop, because it has an automatic washing and drying mop system. Quite impressive to say the least, and it is unique. It is the only one that I'm aware of on the market today that does just that. So today we're going to send it through a series of tests through my house, both with mopping and sweeping, to see how well it does in both. And stick around to the very end. I'm going to tell you what I think about this robot vacuum slash mop. So stay tuned for that at the very end. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the test now. All right, so in our first test, we're going to start off by putting rice on my tile floor. Approximately 52.6 grams, or a quarter cup of rice. And this is just a simple test just to see how well it can do with its sweeping ability. Now with the Narwal T10, it doesn't have the traditional brush roller that many robot vacuums have. It just has these two side spinning brushes, which do spin quite fast. In fact, maybe a little bit too fast. Most robot vacuums have them spin quickly when they're near the edge of the rooms and slow down when they're in the middle of the rooms. And the reason for this is so they don't scatter debris all over the place. So the Narwal T10 does have a tendency to scatter the rice around just a bit during this test. But this is a test to see how well it can do without the brush roller attached to the robot vacuum. So I did run this test in my on my tile floor twice, and the results were very close each time. So I think it did a pretty well job for not having a spinning brush roller. It only has these two side spinning brushes, and then in the very middle underneath it has a little outlet where it can suck the debris up, and so that's it. So looking at the results now on the pickup test for the tile floor. Alright, and here we can see that it picked up about 38.8 grams of rice, which is about 74% of the total rice put down on the floor. Now on to the carpet pickup test. Alright, now here we are with our carpet pickup test, and this is low pile carpet to make it easy for the Narwal T10. Once again, we're using rice. Rice does prove to be quite challenging for all robot vacuum tests that I have run before in the past. And with this here on my rug, we also once again have a quarter cup of rice, or about 53 grams of rice. And this test actually, I had to run it twice because it exposed a problem with the Narwal T10 that I didn't really realize it had until now. If you notice there on the bottom part of the screen, it actually kind of missed a section of the rice there. In fact, both times it started doing a random pattern across the floor. Now it did pick up a good bit, especially since it did not have the brush roller attached. But with both tests, I noticed that there were sections of the rice that it just totally missed. That's something you may want to keep in mind. When I looked at the app and looked at the way it drew the lines on the app, I could tell the sections that it did miss. So hopefully in the future, Narwal will do something to improve this. And like I said, I ran both tests back to back just to make sure that one of them wasn't a fluke. And both of them picked up about the same amount of rice, but both of them left a good bit of rice on the carpet. And here we are here with our second test. And both of them missed a strip of the carpet. So in real world, you may want to have this thing a vacuum or a mop 2 times so that you don't have that issue. And here in just a second you will see right there at the bottom of your screen again where it totally missed that entire section of rice. It's not because the brush was scattering the rice, it was just that it just totally missed it. Otherwise, I think it did a fairly good job for not having a brush roller. On to the results now. In the first test, we were able to pick up about 80% of the rice, and with the second test, we were able to pick up about 82% of the rice. So fairly close with both tests for sure. Now on to the mopping test. Now switching from the brush rollers to the mopping attachment is fairly straightforward and simple. All you do is pull up on it and it snaps right off. And the same goes for the mop attachments. You simply just push them straight in, they click with a nice click, and that is all. Couldn't be much simpler than that. Alright, so we're going to start off here with our first mopping test, which is one of the more difficult ones for mopping robots. This is dried on hot sauce. It is very difficult to remove from floors. I only gave it one opportunity and one pass here to remove the hot sauce. My estimation is it removed about 20% of it, which is fairly typical for most mopping robot vacuums. It is fairly difficult to remove, especially only having one shot at it. But those are the results. I'll let you see zoomed in here. As you can see, it removed just a little bit, but not everything and not a lot. That is a difficult test for robot vacuums though. And after this test, we'll let you see what the mopping pad looks like after it did the mopping test with the hot sauce. As you can see there is a little bit on the pad. For some reason, it was only mostly on one of the pads and not the other one. That's kind of strange and not usually what I see. All right, now on to our second test, a more ideal test. This is dried up coffee stains on the floor, and this is more representative of probably what you're going to have in everyday life with the Narwal T10. And I'm pleased to say that with one pass, it was able to remove 100% of the dried up coffee stains. And this really represents what I'm seeing in the day-to-day use of the Narwal T10. It can really tackle these stains pretty well, as long as they are not really difficult stains to get up. Your everyday stains, it handles just fine. Now, these are mopping pads that I've had on the Narwal for, well, since I got it. I still have the spare set. So I'm going to see, can I clean them better than it can clean them? I washed these for about a minute, scrubbed them in the sink with a brush, and this is the result after me scrubbing them. I don't know. Tell me what you think. You think it does a good job of cleaning them? Could I have done any better? These were dried in the dryer after I cleaned them. So tell me what you think. Drop a comment below. Alright, so in the end, what did I think about the Narwal T10? Now, besides these tests that I ran, which are manufacturer tests, I have run this in my house, both sweeping and mopping, for quite a few weeks now, so I can give you my opinion firsthand. Let's start with the things that I like about the Narwal T10. When I unboxed it, it was clear that the hardware, both the mopping station and the actual robot vacuum itself, were top-notch, high quality. I'm very impressed with that, and so far I have not had any issues with the hardware. I really do appreciate the quiet operation of it when it's both cleaning and when it's cleaning the mopping pads in the docking station. It's very easy to swap between the mopping pad and the sweeping attachment. That is something that I really do appreciate. A lot of times, sometimes those things are complicated, but this is really designed quite well. I also like the controls that are on top of the base station. There's a home button there for sending it in and out of the base station, which I use quite frequently, and there's also a quick cleaning button. There's also an LCD screen on the top of it that tells you exactly what it's doing. That's a very helpful and handy feature too. You don't have to pull your app out in order to see what it's doing, and also in order to remove it from the base station, you can just push the button on top. I do like the fact that it's innovative. When this robot vacuum was first announced, I was very excited about it because no other robot vacuum has the ability to clean itself and has a lot of water and also dirty water tanks that you don't have to clean every time. It was very quick to map my house. So when initially it goes out to map the house, and I wish other robot vacuums would do this, it didn't have to do a whole entire house cleaning. It essentially went from room to room, kind of looking around. It would go inside of a room and look around, and then leave and go into the next room. So mapping my entire 1,600 square foot house literally took no more than 15 or 20 minutes. All right, let's talk about the cleaning ability real quick. So I do think the day-to-day ability of this thing to mop your floors is pretty darn good. Now, if you're buying this as a vacuum, you might want to look elsewhere, but as a mop, it does a good job. Now, it will do a fairly okay job with the vacuuming part, providing you mostly have hardwood floors. If you're using this on carpets, you may want to look elsewhere, like a Roborock or an iRobot. For the hands-off ability for it to clean itself, I really appreciate that. One of the things I dread is after some of my robot vacuums with mopping attachments on them, when they're done mopping, I have to remember to go over, pull the mopping pad off, and clean it. If not, I have this dirty, stinky, dried up mopping pad sitting on the bottom of my robot, something that I don't like. And so every time I finish with one of those things mopping, I have to clean it. I appreciate that this goes ahead and cleans it and dries it. That keeps it from having funky smells. And it does a really good job cleaning it too, by the way. I also think it does a really good job of keeping the mopping pad wet. Now what I mean by that, when it goes out and mops your house, after a little while it can sense and detect when the mopping pad is getting a bit dry. Because it doesn't have onboard water storage, it has to go back to the base station in order to re-wet the mopping pad. And it does a really good job of keeping it nice and even. So kudos to Narwal for that. Now let's talk about some of the stuff that I did not like. Clearly the person that designed, or the people that designed the app, were different than the people that designed the hardware. They couldn't be more different in my opinion. First off, the app, I use Android device, and so the app is not in the Play Store at this moment. That means I have no great way to get updates. I also have not noticed a firmware update on the robot vacuum itself. So those are two things that since I've had it, I've not had any updates. One of the things that was really curious to me that I thought was not a good idea is that when it maps your house, it detects solid things like couches and furniture, but when it's done mapping, it removes those from the map. So let me show you here what I mean, and you can see here that basically it only shows walls. Well, the problem with this is two things. One, if I want to keep it from going under my bed and I want to create a no-go zone, I no longer have that bed on my map, so I can reference and draw a no-go zone around it or no mopping zone around it. Second, I have a floating wall like many people do in their house. The wall that divides my kitchen from the living room is just a standalone floating wall. The Narwal detected this as a piece of furniture and removed it, making it virtually impossible for me to divide it. So the way it looks at it is that my living room, my dining room, kitchen, and my foyer are all one large room. And so when I tried to divide it, I had no success. And I did try it many times. In fact, I had it remap my house 3 times because I thought there must be a mistake. Contacted Narwal, and it is true they do remove the furniture from the map. And so I did suggest that they put this back as it's causing problems. Because of this, I don't have a way to divide my living room from my kitchen and my dining room and my foyer. So my dining room, kitchen, and foyer are all one large room, and my living room is another large room. Now that didn't really cause too big of a problem for me, other than when I want to mop and sweep, I have to mop and sweep my entire dining room, kitchen, and foyer. I can't separate those. And because the app doesn't have zone cleaning, I can't even work around that. The only thing I can do is close off doors or put the magnetic strip down to keep it from going in there, which I have done that several times. Talking more about the app, the ability to divide rooms is not so great. There are still some rooms I have not been able to divide properly. It just errors out. Others have experienced this as well, and so I think they need to improve the ability to divide room. No ability to pin and go. What that means is select a spot in your house and tell the robot vacuum to go there. Also, no route history cleaning. And so what I mean by that, it doesn't have history where you can see where it cleaned. And when the robot vacuum is in the process of cleaning on the app, you can see the lines that it makes as it's going through your room. However, when it's done, it removes those lines from the history and from the app, so you can't see exactly where it cleaned. You can see it cleaned a room, but you can't see the path that it took. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it's something I wish Narwal would add back. So the app does need a good bit more work, and it was quite a frustrating experience for me, and still is. I wish they would update it. Alright, so now let's talk about navigation. One of the issues with the navigation is it has a tendency sometimes to slam into solid objects. Objects it should be able to see with the sensors, and if not, the LiDAR. I understand things that are underneath the deck lid that can't be seen by LiDAR, but I'm talking about things that it can see. Here's a video real quick of it slamming into my pet water bowl, and it does this every time it cleans. All right, as you can see there, some improvements could be made in the Department for Navigation as it is detecting objects. I also noticed that when I was doing my test, it does not cover the entire floor every time. So my suggestion is make sure you do multiple cleanings when you're selecting a room or the house. Make sure you select 2 times. In fact, that is the default for the mop, is 2 times. As I mentioned earlier, it also took 3 times to correctly map my house. Now what I mean by that is the first time it went out and mapped my house, it went right by my daughter's room. The door was wide open. It went by it and never went back to go inside to map it. The second time it went into my bedroom and only went on one side of the bedroom and not the other, causing a problem. So it took 3 times for it to accurately map my house. Now, because it's only 15 or 20 minutes each time, it wasn't that big of a deal, but certainly there could be some improvements made there. This is a really nice piece of hardware, and it is not cheap. Currently, right now, the retail price is about $1,200. You can purchase on Amazon from the link down below. Do I recommend the Narwal T10? Well, that's a tricky one. Yes, I do recommend it if you have mostly or all hardwood or tile floors in your house and not a lot of carpet. It will do a really good job for you if you buy it and have that scenario. However, in my house, I have carpet and tile and in my house, and some of my tile is in the back of the house. There's no way for the Narwal T10 to go back and mop those floors without first dragging a wet mopping pad across my carpets. I have tried multiple things and there is no way. If I put it down in the floor and hit mop, it will simply go back to the base station, wet the mops, and then it will go back, but then dragging the wet mopping cloths across my carpet. Not ideal. With the Narwal T10, it does not have an onboard water tank. It relies on the base station in order to wet and keep the mopping pads wet. So I really only recommend this for people that have mostly or all hard floors and no carpet. It doesn't do the best job of vacuuming carpet anyhow without a brush roller to agitate the carpet. I do applaud Narwal for the innovation there, and I really do appreciate it, and I will continue to use the Narwal T10 to mop my floors as time goes on. If I do receive any updates or if they update the app, I'll make sure I go ahead and post a follow-up video. If you have any questions, make sure you go ahead and drop those down below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you have a Narwal T10, tell me what you think about it. Drop a comment below, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you also give this video a like and share it with your friends. I appreciate your time, and take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.